Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you might be joining us. Welcome to our Getting Started with Edge Success webinar. This is part 2 in our 3-part series, and I'm really excited to have you here with me today to learn more about launching your business in a big way. Whether you're watching this and you're starting off the year with a big goal, or maybe you're halfway through the year and you're watching this recording, I'm happy to have you in this space so that you can learn how to truly launch your doTERRA business with effective tools so that you're not spinning your wheels like a hamster in the cage. Okay, so welcome to part 2. If you did not happen to catch part 1, make sure that you go over to our Powerfully Essential YouTube channel. That's where we actually have the recording of part 1, and you're going to want to watch that section first and then continue on to this part 2. So my name is Katie Glasgow, and I am a blue diamond in doTERRA. But if you've watched part 1, you kind of understand what that means. What it means for me is that I have created what I call the freedom life with my husband and my family and I in our little small town in Iowa. I started sharing essential oils and doTERRA with people when my youngest son was when my middle son, excuse me, he's not my youngest anymore, when my middle son was about a year and a half old, and it has completely changed our life. And we now have thousands of people on our team, and we have annual sales of over 2 million, believe it or not, which is really crazy. When I first started, I never thought that would happen. And I know that number is just going to get higher and higher. And I have learned along the way what to do in this business and what not to do. And so in this 3-part series, I'm sharing with you my secrets of success, my top tips, my top inspiration, my top guidance for you, so that you can create residual income, you can create a pipeline, or you can create whatever you want in your life so that you have that freedom life. So in part 1, what we did is we explored a little bit more what the actual doTERRA business opportunity looks like. We walked you through the different ways you can earn a business and why doTERRA is such an amazing opportunity to be part of. Whether you've been part of it for a while or whether you're just getting started, it is still an amazing opportunity. And when we left off last week, we left off with 3 options in choosing our path in doTERRA. What kind of program do we actually want to pursue in doTERRA? Do we want to pursue what we call that part-time program, a spare time, or a full-time program? And so this morning, what we're going to do is we're going to review that part series again. And I'm going to invite you to get a piece of paper out and a pen. If you don't have one, please go grab one, because you're going to want to jot down some notes today. We're actually going to start to put some application to practice today. We're going to get our words on the paper, because words that are just thoughts in our head are not going to do anything. They're not going to go anywhere. They're better out than in, so that we can pursue and we can manifest what we want this year in our business. And so today we're going to review that, but then we're going to start to talk about what I call this gap. Right? What is this gap? So we know where we're at and we know where we want to go. What's preventing us from getting there? And it's usually that we have some kind of a gap, right? We have a gap. This is where I am. This is where I want to go. And we have this gap. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to dive in to the 3 things that I have found prevent us from getting where we're at to where we want to go. And we're going to dive into these activities. We're going to get down and dirty with goals today. We're going to explore some stuff. We're going to do goals in probably a different way than you've ever done before. And that's why I really want you to have that piece of paper handy. And we're going to get clear on the activities that we need to be doing to fill in that gap from where we are to where we want to go. So I'm going to do a quick review of what the different paths in doTERRA look like. We've got our spare time program. You guys should all be able to see my screen now. But we've got our spare time program. The spare time program looks like we're putting in about 3 to 5 hours of doTERRA every week. Now, right now, you don't have to know what those activities are, because that's what we're going to get to today and next week as well, or in part 3. What are our spare time hours are about that 3 to 5 hours a week. We're consistently devoting 3 to 5 hours a week in our business. It's not I'm going to put in 3 hours this week, and then I'm not going to do anything because life gets in the way. And then I'm going to put in 3 hours a month from now. But it's consistently, we're putting in this spare time hours, which is 3 to 5 hours a week. Okay. If you're putting in that 3 to 5 hours a week, you're going to get to about the rank of what we call elite in doTERRA. Now, elite is a phenomenal place to be. That's about the point where your oils are getting paid for. So you're no longer, which is actually a cost benefit to your home, a cost savings in your home, because your doTERRA products are getting paid for. Plus, you're not spending in other areas of your home. So that can actually right there be a huge blessing in the lives of many to just get that product paid for. And that's always, no matter what your goal is in doTERRA, getting your product paid for is always my number one goal. And it should be your number one focus. Your first milestone is, hey, I need to get my oils paid for so that I can continue to have these beautiful health benefits that the oils provide. So that's right about elite. Now, maybe you're ready to bump it up. You are sick and tired of working 2 jobs. Maybe you're working 3 jobs, or maybe you're just, you want to cut back. You don't want to have to do the overtime, or you are staying at home with your kids and you really want to start to explore options of learning how to create residual income within your life. And so that's what we're going to call our part-time program. A part-time program is you're willing to dedicate 8 to 12 hours a week. We're up in the game just a little bit here. 8 to 12 hours a week. That's a part-time commitment. But if you think about it in traditional forms of employment, part-time is usually 20 plus hours a week. We're only asking for 8 to 12 hours of a commitment here. And again, that's consistently to see the results that we're looking at. And that's going to get you to about the rank of silver. It's going to be really hard to push past silver because of the activities you're going to need to do. Silver, you're going to start to have a team under you, more people wanting to do the part-time. So you're probably going to have to bump it up if you want to go beyond silver. But that part-time program, 8 to 12 months, silver has the earning potential of $2,200 to $2,500 per month. So if we're actually doing the math and we're breaking that down into the hours that you're working, that's the equivalent of going to a job and getting about $50 an hour. So I want you to think of putting in a sacrifice. If you're putting in that 8 to 12 hours a week consistently, doing the activities that we're going to talk about to fill the gap, 8 to 12 months, you can have that income coming in. And that $50 an hour for a part-time job, it's going to be really hard to go out and find that anywhere else in traditional employment. Plus, if you want more time freedom, maybe you want to spend more time with your husband, you want to spend more time with your kids, you want more time to enjoy life, you can do it on your schedule. You get to work. That's part of the beauty of this freedom life, is that we get to work when we want to work. It's not dictated. I still put in hours into my business every day. I'm probably putting in 20 to 30 hours at least into my business. That's not including the hours that my husband puts into our business. But I get to dictate and do it when I want to. Okay. This week I wasn't feeling well on Wednesday. I had a whole day full of calls and appointments, but because I was the boss, it wasn't a big deal for me to send a few text messages, send a few notes, and crawl back into my bed and snuggle with my 5-year-old. I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to worry about taking the time off. I didn't have to worry about who was going to, everything falling apart. I was just able to do that because of this freedom life that I have created. So think of what that looks like and that feels like, because we're going to really dive into that in just a moment. Now, the third option, and this is what I actually do, and if you want to go beyond the rank of silver, this is what I recommend, is doing a full-time program. It's 15 to 30 hours a week, and that's consistently. Again, you're really putting in some dedication, you're making some sacrifice, but you unlock earning potential in doTERRA up until the very end. You can go all the way up to $100,000 plus a month because you're putting that in. And so it might be big sacrifices now for a big payoff later on. So the beauty of this is that this is your business. It's not my business. I am in control of my business. You're in control of yours. And so you get to choose which path do you want to take? Okay. What path would you like to take? And if you're joining us and you've got your chat open, I would love to hear from you. I would love to see, what path are you choosing, and declare it. I've chosen the spare time. I've chosen the part-time. I've chosen the full-time. And it might be that right now you're just getting started and you're thinking right now, I just want to get these oils paid for, and you're going to do the spare time program. That's totally fine. I started at a spare time program. And then as I went on, I realized all of this beauty in doTERRA, and I realized what it looked like. And so I actually started to raise up, and I changed my path. For right now, I want you to choose the path for you. Be true to yourself, please, when you're doing this. Don't choose the path that your husband wants or that you would love because of that income, but you know right now with all the commitments you have that there's no way you can do it. Choose the path that is your path. Okay, choose the one that is true to your heart and that your heart is guiding you to, so that we can stay true and we can learn how to fill in this gap. Because if we say, hey, I'm going to be full-time, but all of your commitments make it impossible to put in full-time hours, then don't choose full-time right now. Start with part-time. And then maybe you can start to get more help in so that you can go to full-time. Choose what is true to your heart, okay? And then if you've got your piece of paper, what I would love for you to do right now is I would love for you to just take it and you can actually kind of write like a little timeline on it, okay? Like I'm going to actually show you this on my piece of paper right here. I've got this like little timeline right here, okay? It's got a bar across the top and two things. And on one side, I want you to put where you currently are, okay? Maybe you're brand new to doTERRA and you're currently earning $0 per month. That's okay. I want you to write that down. Your current income level with doTERRA. So we're going to write a couple different things. Your current income, your current time commitment, and maybe your current goal or your current rank. Put your current rank in doTERRA, okay? So you've got three things on that sheet of paper, and I want you guys to write down, and I want you to fill that in, okay? So maybe your current income is that you're getting your $50 power of 3. Write that down. Your current time commitment, I want you guys to be real, okay? So if you're saying that you want to be a full-time person, but you're realistically looking and you're like, I'm only consistently putting in spare time hours, write that down, because that current time commitment is really important for us to get to this other side, okay? And then put in your current rank. Where are you currently at in doTERRA? If you're just brand new, if you're just getting started, this is your first exposure to what the business of doTERRA looks like, that's okay. Your current income is going to be 0. Your current time commitment is going to be 0 right now, right? And your current rank is going to be consultant, okay? Now, maybe you've been doing this for a while. Maybe your current income is that you are getting $150 back in doTERRA. Your current time commitment is about 2 to 3 hours per week, and your current rank is maybe executive, maybe it's director, whatever that looks like for you. I want you to write those down on the piece of paper, okay? Now, the next thing I want you guys to do, before we go any further, we're going to take a moment and we're going to pause. And what I would love for everyone to do is I want you to celebrate where you're at. Make a big deal of this. Don't look at it as, oh, I feel icky because I'm at 0. If you are just getting started, I am going to applaud you and say congratulations for being on this call or watching this recording, because you have shown up and you have taken one step further to your path of being an oil business rock star and changing your life and creating a freedom life than most people have ever even thought of doing. Most people have seen you posting on Facebook or seen you talking about this great opportunity, and they're like, smash, 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 direct sales, direct marketing, pyramid scheme, right? And you thought to yourself, well, wait, what if I could have a different life? And you showed up. So congratulations, celebrate you. Get up, do a little happy dance. I'm connected right now, so I can't, I'll do a little happy dance for you guys. Now, the next thing I want you to do is have you been building doTERRA for a while? And you're like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to do this thing for 3 years and I'm not getting my results that I really want. It's okay. Celebrate you. Celebrate all the enrollments that you have. Celebrate you releasing your fears and picking up that phone and calling people. Celebrate the fact that you're getting $50 a month back. Celebrate the fact that maybe you've enrolled 10 people. Celebrate whatever you are. If you guys don't get my point by now, I'm going to say it again. Celebrate, because the reality is, the truth is, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. It might not be where you want to be, but where you're supposed to be. Okay? And I'm here to deliver you some of my best content yet. I've been doing this content for a couple weeks now, and I'm seeing some pretty darn phenomenal results. And so you are here where you're supposed to be, in this space, getting what you need to get where you want to go. But first, we must acknowledge this is where I'm at, and I'm pretty darn proud of myself for being here. So if you're listening to this and you're not in a space, maybe you're sitting in your cubicle or you're still at work and you can't get up and celebrate, make sure to make it a point to do some kind of celebration for yourself. Okay? This is really, really, really important, you guys. You have to celebrate you no matter where you're at. You have to celebrate. I love to actually celebrate. One of the things that actually in our subconscious brain that will get a celebration is if you go over to the side and you go like that, and you go like that. So I'm celebrate you. This is your life, and you get to celebrate. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you look all funky and crazy. You still get to do it. Okay. Now, on the other side of the paper, we are going to write down where you want to be. So at the top is where I am. And then on this other side, it's where I want to be. Okay? Now, you're going to do the same thing. Your ideal income, your ideal time commitment, and your ideal rank. Now, what I'm actually going to really ask you to do today is I want you to think about for the next year, okay? I think it's all fine and dandy to look ahead and know ultimately where we're going, okay? Like but I want to take it back to where you want to be this year. And the reason, and look at this timesheet, you guys, it's right up here on the screen for you. And oops, put it back. Look at this in this time commitment and where you, and kind of like look at the average time it takes to get there in months. And I want you to put where you would like to be. And it's okay to get a little crazy with this, okay? But I want it to be this year, because if we start to create goals or we start to set things in motion that are so far out of what our subconscious mind and what our mind can believe and grasp, it will be really hard for us to actually take the steps that we have to go to do that. So I want you to imagine you've signed up. You know, eventually you want to get to diamond, right? Or maybe you know eventually you want to get to presidential diamond. That's like we signed up for a marathon or we signed up for a full Ironman, but we've got a couple of years to train for that, okay? So if we actually signed up for a marathon and we had never actually run in our life before, and we signed up for a marathon that was next week, and then we said we were going to run that marathon next week, and we hadn't trained and we didn't know, we would probably shut down and we would make an excuse to not actually go and actually do that marathon. But if we set our goal, like our marathon date for December, and we knew that we had to train and practice to get there, and we started with, hey, I'm just going to run a mile, and then maybe in March I'm going to do a 5K, and then I'm going to do a half marathon in July. If we set those milestones, our brain can comprehend and wrap the thoughts and ideas and the actions around it more. So I really want you to think of looking at your goals for this year. So we're just getting started with 2017. So maybe it's where you want to be in December. If you're watching this recording later on, it's July. Where do you want to be next July? But let's take it down to the next year where you want to be. Okay. So we've got this where I want to be, your current income, or the income you want to be at, the time commitment that you want to be at. You're idealistically, you're like, hey, I really want to be to silver by the end of the year. And I know that right now I'm doing spare time commitment and I need to bump it up to 10 hours a week. And I want $2,200 a month. And right now you're just getting started. So what is that gap? Okay. So we've looked at that. And so the next step is, now you guys can probably see in your own goals, where is my gap? Okay. So I have been doing spare time program. Why haven't I been doing a full-time program? That's what I really want. Or maybe I want to do part-time. Where is my gap? What do I need to do to start to fill in this gap? Okay. We've got this gap. So the rest of the rest of today, what I'm going to talk to you guys about is the key activities. Like I said, I've broke it down into basically 3 different things, or 3 different items, or 3 different action things that usually aren't happening for us to get where we are and where we want to be. A lot of times we start to make things way too complicated. We've got to do 10 million different classes. We've got to do DIY. We've got to build online. We've got to do all of this stuff. But it really comes back to 3 core activities. Okay, so are you guys ready to get started? Okay, so number 1, I'm going to break this down. I'm going to tell you the 3 activities, and then we're going to go and dive into each of them. Number 1 is that we don't have a strong enough why. We don't truly understand why we want to get from where we are to where we're going, right? We don't understand how to fill in that gap. So we don't have a clear why that will actually make us really work for it, that we truly believe. So that's going to be actually our next activity, and the reason that you needed some paper. The second thing is that we aren't putting in the required amount of time based on where we want to go. Okay, we're not putting in those hours consistently, okay, because our business is coming in as an afterthought instead of the primary focus. We're not treating our business like a business, we're treating it like the afterthought. So we're going to dive in and explore what it looks like to actually schedule out our time. And then the third thing is knowing what to do, the key activities we really truly need to focus in on, and what that system looks like. Okay, so those are the 3 main things that we're going to do and we're going to cover today. And then the next part of the series, we're going to dive into more of like the application of what you need to actually get to elite. If you're watching this and you're already elite, these are tools that are great for you to go and start to share with others that are just getting started. Okay, so we're going to dive into goal setting. Okay, so this is actually, most of this content I'm actually taking out of what we call the quick start guide with Edge Success. I love this little guide. It's actually probably one of my favorite tools to get somebody started. It's very simple to read, very simple to understand, and basically you have to walk through it. So what I'm really doing in this 3-part series is walking you through it and just adding in my special little flair and twist for you. So we have our getting started guide, and where it is at the very beginning. It's getting started, and we need to know why we're doing doTERRA. And so we kind of know now, based on that chart that we just did on where you want to go, what is your rank, your income, and your vision for the end of the year. Where do you want to be? And if you have a quick start guide, pull it out, write it down, and let's go and have that. Like that can be where you have in the purple section. But what I'm going to do now is we're going to really get into your why. I'm going to take you through a different exercise. You can go through this week and you can work on journaling to discover your why a little bit more. Here's a journaling activity for 1 week for 10 minutes each day. Write the following questions. If my long-term goal was a reality today, how would that change my life? And what happens if I never reach this goal? So that's one of the ways you can do it. But one of the ways I actually really love to do it is something that I've been teaching lately. It's called getting clear on your resolve, or why you're doing something. And we're going to write down, we're going to start to learn how to manifest what we want, or put out into the universe what we would like in our life. Okay, what would we want to be this year? What do we want to have? And what do you want to do this year? Okay, and this is actually going to start to help tie back to our why. So I want you to get out your journaling paper, and we're going to start to do this exercise. And I'm actually going to play some music for you guys, and we are going to write down our goals right here and right now on this space, because what I have found is if I tell you to go home and do this, it's not going to happen in the same way that it will if you just stop what you're doing right now and you do this activity. And so we have to know why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. And so what I find is that when I ask somebody what their why is, I get this boxed, canned answer of, I want to change the world. I want to start an orphanage in Africa. I want to help people. I want to teach people about essential oils and that there are no other options. Okay. Now, those are all wonderful, but here's the truth bomb for everyone today. If you are sharing doTERRA, if you are using doTERRA, that's everyone's why. It's every single person's why, because it's just part of the gig. That's what makes doTERRA so darn amazing, is that it's part of the gig that we get to help people. We get to change the world. And eventually, the more you get to do, you get to help, and you get to do whatever cause you want, whatever charity you want through Healing Hands. Heck, right now, you can make a $20 donation to Healing Hands every month for your hope oil, and you can start to change the world by just using essential oils in your home every day. So you cannot have down that your why is to change the world. It is not allowed if you're coaching with me or if you want to have success in this business, because that is everybody's reason they do doTERRA. And it is just part of the beauty and the splendor and the magic of what we do. Okay? Do you guys follow me with that? Your why cannot be that you want to change the world. We need to get down and dirty with your why. Why are you doing doTERRA? Okay? And don't feel bad. I give you permission to not feel bad about anything you write down on your piece of paper today, because that is your piece of paper. When I first started sharing doTERRA, I was a stay-at-home mom in LA. We were on one income. So even though my husband had a really great job, we lived in Los Angeles. And so my why was that I believed in those products. I was seeing some amazing changes with Lifelong Vitality in our home. And I wanted to be able to get 2 boxes of Lifelong Vitality into our home every single month. Okay. So $74.50 times 2 was $150 that I at least needed to come up with every month. Okay. I also wanted to get some odds and ends stuff. I wanted to try the skincare. I wanted to try, have the oils in the home for my kids and things like that. But I knew that the way our budget was set up, we didn't have the extra for $150 to $200 doTERRA order every month. So I went out and I figured out what do I need to do to get people so that I can get these oils paid for. Okay. So that was my original why. And that's actually the only thing that drove me to Elite, because I realized that if I could get people on Lifelong Vitality, okay, that was a reoccurring thing. They were going to need to have that into their home every single month. If I could help them understand the oils a little bit, then I would be able to get my oils paid for. I needed to be Elite. Okay. So I went out, and that was my why. That was why I got over my fear and picked up the phone. That was why I decided to, sacrifice some of my time, right? So as soon as my kids went down for their naps in the afternoon, I was on the phone making phone calls, all right? I wasn't picking up toys. I wasn't doing the dishes. I wasn't folding laundry. I was focusing in on doTERRA for 2 hours while they took a nap. And then when they woke up, while I was playing with them, or when they went to bed, or whatever that looked like, then I would do those other activities. But I would make sure that first my doTERRA got done. So did my house look a little crazy sometimes? Yes, it did. But guess what? I got my oils paid for. And my house eventually looked back to normal again. Maybe. I don't know. That's still debatable some days. But you guys see my point? my why wasn't to go to diamond yet. My why, I couldn't wrap my head around that. I couldn't wrap my head around silver. All I could do was wrap my head around getting my oils paid for. Then once I got those checks and I started to believe, oh my gosh, these products really work. There's really an opportunity here because my oil's paid for. I got to elite. Okay. My oils are paid for. I got to elite. Then it went to, okay, I'm really starting to kind of like this. And I like having a little bit of extra cash again. I like to be able to get my nails done every once in a while. I like to be able to be okay with the fact that I could go out on a date with my husband and not have to worry, not have to feel bad that we didn't have a budget for that. Okay, so I pushed on to Premier Silver range. Just on that alone is that I liked to have nice things for myself. Okay, I wanted to be able to go to the gym. I wanted to be able to buy a nice top every once in a while. And that's not shallow, you guys. That's just you feeling good about yourself. Was I going out and like spending money frivolously? No, but I felt good again. I had worked in corporate America. I had been used to those things and I was staying at home and I needed to feel good. And when I started to do that, it started to show. And then more people wanted doTERRA. So then all of a sudden I had this turning point where it was like, okay, I believe in this opportunity. I believe in these products. They're amazing. And now people want to do this with me. And so then my extra started paying for a little bit of daycare for my kids and so on and so forth. And then about a year into my journey, I had kind of tapped out around silver because my why was not strong enough. My why was strong enough for silver. I could believe that I could get to silver. That extra income was helping for a little bit more travel, things like that. But then I started to see diamond because I started to see the effects that my husband's job was having on him. And I might not have noticed that while we were before doTERRA, but I really started to notice it once I got in around health and wellness, once I was starting to be around people that had started to have their husbands come home and my belief level changed. And I realized that I could go to diamond. And then my why became, I'm going to bring my husband home. I'm going to get to diamond. I'm going to bring my husband home. So did I see how that was incremental? It didn't have to be that I want to be diamond right away. I had to break it down. And so that's what I'm inviting you guys to do today. And that's why we're going to do the be, have, do, or the do, be, have, or however you want to talk to it. And this actually comes from a couple of different resources. I love Denise Dorfield. She's the author of Get Rich. And she has this exercise, and I've been doing it and having a lot of team members do it. So what I want you to do is I want you guys to spend some time now, and I want you to hone in on what would you like to be this year, okay? And these need to be tangible goals. It cannot be more responsible because that's not something we can really measure. Be kinder. I can't really measure that. I want you to write down things that you want to be, have, and do. And don't worry about them sounding crazy or unattainable. I want you to write it down because this is going to help you understand why you are sharing doTERRA with others for you to find and create that freedom life. Okay. So we're going to just spend 3 to 4 minutes doing this activity. And so I would like you guys to continue to do that. So just take out your pen and your paper. And I want you guys to just, like I said, take a few moments and just write down what you are, what your be, do, and have is. If you had this beautiful magic wand called doTERRA, right? You had a beautiful magic wand called doTERRA, and you were sprinkling it all over your life. You're just going to sprinkle this beautiful magic wand all over your life. And then you are going to start to imagine what you would like to have, what you would like to do this year, what you would like to be. Maybe you would like to have a house cleaner a couple times a week. Maybe you would like to do a big vacation with your family, something you've never done before. Maybe you want to be a silver leader in doTERRA. Maybe you want to have your monthly oil order paid for. Maybe you want to have 100 people in your doTERRA organization. Maybe you want to have an hour a day to spend on your physical self. Maybe you want to have a refrigerator full of organic, beautiful produce. Maybe you want to quit your job. Maybe you want to be a platinum leader in doTERRA. Maybe you want a new car. You've got a magic wand. You're sprinkling it all over your life this year. The sky is the limit. Don't feel bad about anything you're writing down. Don't feel that you are not worthy and deserving of what you're writing down, because you are a beautiful creator. And you deserve happiness, and you deserve freedom. It's okay to want nice things. It's okay to want to not have to stress about things. What do you want to be, have, and do this year? Okay, just so that we can stay on time, I wanted to just have you guys take a moment. You should have been able to get quite a bit of stuff written down. And I want you to have this start to tie into your why, okay? And just pick a couple of things. And now the next step of that list is the things you wrote down. I want you to go behind them when you have some time, and I want you to write down the dollar amount. So if you wanted a house cleaner for this year, a couple of times, maybe write down $150. Or what does that look like? What is the dollar amount? And the reason we're doing that is because if we start to put a dollar amount with what we want and where we're at, it will start to help us see why we're working, okay? It's going to start to help us go to where we need to go in our business, okay? So, to make this exercise really powerful, you could do this journaling exercise for, like it says on here, we just kind of switched it up, but do it for 10 minutes each day. Write these down, think about them, get clear on them. Just doing it once a week is really powerful because we're writing these down. They can change. They don't have to be the same every week. They're going to evolve as you evolve. But I want you to really understand why you're doing doTERRA. Why are you going to sacrifice? Why are you going to spend some hours away from your kids? Why are you going to spend some hours away from your family, from your husband? Why are you going to make these sacrifices this year? Why are you going to put in that time? Because when you know why you're doing it, it's one step further. It's probably the biggest step in starting to fill in that gap, okay, is knowing why you're doing doTERRA. If you don't understand why you're doing doTERRA, you're probably just going to keep plodding along, okay? You have to know why you're doing doTERRA, and you have to share that with other people, okay? So know why you're doing doTERRA, declare it, write it down, tell somebody, this is why I'm sharing these oils. Not only do they have amazing health benefits, and they've changed my family's health in a very good way, but I'm also pursuing and sharing them with others because we want to go on a family vacation this year to Disney World. Or I'm doing this because I want to quit my part-time job so that I can stay home and take care of my babies. Or I want to be able to retire my husband, whatever that is, figure it out and get really strong about it and feel really passionate about it. And then that's going to carry over. Okay. So we spent a lot of time today on our resolve and our why, because I truly believe it is the most important step of knowing, of starting to fill that gap. Okay. A lot of times people will tell me, I know what I'm supposed to do in doTERRA, but for some reason I'm not doing it. It's really hard for me to stay focused. And a lot of times that's going to come back to, do you understand why you're doing doTERRA? Do you understand why you're doing this as a business? Okay. So the second thing, okay, so now we're going to move on. So we've got the first thing to fill the gap is to know our why. The second thing is we're not blocking off time to consistently do the activities that we need to do. Okay. So we've got, you've seen the different time levels of the different time commitments for the different programs. And what I find mostly is not knowing what your why is. But my second thing is when I start to ask people, what hours are you putting in consistently every week on your business? And when and I said, I want you to get real. You don't get to count the hours that you're on Facebook. You don't get to count the hours. These are with your true ROI activities. And again, don't worry about that. We're getting to that. We're going to really dive into those next week. We're just going to touch on them this week, dive into them a lot next week. But it's that you're not consistently putting in the hours. And so when we actually peel back the layers of the onion and we look at how many hours are you consistently putting in, 9 times out of 10, that's at exactly what rank that person is sitting at. And so we have to sometimes, again, go back to the why. What is their why? Have they lost their why to know why they're putting in those hours? Because if we're really working for something, the hours don't matter, right? The hours don't matter because we know that we're getting some end results. Okay. So how I like to do this is I like to have my calendar. Now I'm just on the screen. I have my class dates. This is the one that's in the quick start guide. I actually use a passion planner. I love my passion planner. It helps me know what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it. So, and it's got daily and it's got all my goals and everything in it. So I love the passion planner. That's one of my top recommendations. But what we're doing today is I want you to get a calendar. You can use this. You can use your main calendar. And we need to set a time aside, the time to create doTERRA. Many times, because we're not in a mode of being our own boss, we're used to going to work, right? We don't reserve the time we need to actually create the activities, okay? So what we're going to do is we start to, we're like, oh, I'll get to doTERRA, and we put priority, and that's okay if we do this, but we put priority on making sure that the house looks perfect. We put the priority on getting all the laundry done. We put priority on all of these other things before our business. And if we want our business to work, our business has to have priority. There's actually a hierarchy, which is another entire training I've done, but it has to be you, or it actually has to be your higher power. So if that's God for you, Buddha, whatever. For me, it's God. And then you, and then your husband, and then your kids, and then doTERRA. Okay? Our triangle has to look like this, because when it starts to get out of whack, it starts to get out of whack. And that's when the chaos starts to happen. But if we can keep it like this, we can keep harmony within it. So what does our doTERRA look like in our lives? Are we scheduling that time aside? So what I do is I have my calendar and I book all of my most important things first. Okay. So I have in my calendar, if the kids have any events for the week or for the month, I know exactly when they are, and I create that space. I write it down on that piece of paper, because remember, a thought in our head is just a thought in our head. We got to manifest it and to show up and to show the world and to show the universe that we're serious. It has to be written down on a piece of paper. All right. So I put my kids' activities in there. I put my workout time in, and then I have my doTERRA hours. Okay. I know every day the exact hours that I'm going to work doTERRA. Now, of course, they're flexible because I have freedom, but I like to have my freedom later and make sure that I've got these little chunks of time set aside. If I know I have a big goal and that I need to teach 6 classes this month to reach my goal, I'm actually going to go in, and I know that every Tuesday and Wednesday night from 5 to 9, I'm going to reserve for classes. And that's 5 o'clock. That's probably about the time I would leave so that I can go to a class and I can be there at, early, an hour ahead of time to talk with the host so we can get the ambiance the right way with our diffusers and everything. And then by the time I do that class and come up, my classes are usually always at 6:30 because that just works for me, because then my family knows when I'm going to leave, and it's just a nice pattern. But depending on what that looks like, if I'm doing part-time program, you're probably going to be teaching at least 1 class a week. If I'm doing spare time, it might be every other week that you're going to host a class, or you're going to take them to your upline's house for a class. And if you're doing full-time, you're probably teaching at least 2 classes a week, if not more. Okay. But I know in my calendar when that space is reserved. So then when I start to make calls to see if somebody wants to host, or if I'm hosting at my class house, I know exactly when I have time created for those classes. I'm not just like, oh, when it happens, it happens. I'm going to leave my calendar wide open. So if anybody wants a class, they can have a class. What kind of a different attitude does it feel? Or it just feels a lot different if we can call and say, hey, I'm booking my calendar with my classes. I've got 5 openings this month, but they're going quickly. When would you like to schedule your class? This is when I have available. Or I've got 3 options that you can come to my house for your classes this week or this month. Okay. Which I would love to get you into some essential oil education. Okay. So we need to reserve the time that we're going to create this. Okay. So go into your calendar and create space this week. So if you are a spare time program, you are going to write down, okay, you are going to write down at least 3 to 5 hours a week that you're working on your doTERRA business, okay? If you are part-time, you need to make sure that you have the 8 to 12 hours blocked off. If you are full-time, you need to make sure that in your calendar and that you have it blocked off. And I don't want it just in your head. You think you know that that's when you're working on doTERRA. It needs to be down on paper. Okay, this is super important. It's the step that most people forget, and it's why you're not having results, is because you're not being serious about your time. You're like, oh, once I get this done, then maybe in the afternoon I'll sit down and I'll do some of my doTERRA calls. Well, guess what? It never actually happens. Okay, because life shows up and life happens and life gets in the way. If you are doing this at least as the part-time to full-time position program, and you want to get to where you're going, you have to be more serious about your time commitment. You have to know when your classes are. You have to get out there. You have to make calls. You have to put the hours into your business. Okay. So make sure that you're ready to make that time commitment. So put that out there, okay, that you're putting this time commitment out there, okay? So really look at that. If you need help with that, get with your upline, your person that invited you. What I'm going to invite you guys to do is over the next couple weeks, get some classes on the books, okay? If you haven't done classes for a while, get some classes. If your upline's not near you, that's okay. We can do a lot of stuff online now. We can FaceTime into a group for you. Lots of different ways to get that education. Get creative, and let's get classes on the books, because the only way to grow your business, the biggest way to grow your business, I shouldn't say the only way, the biggest way to grow your business is to host more classes, invite more people, educate more people. Okay. It's a cycle you got to go over. And if you have tapped out on your names list and things like that, don't worry, going into that next week. But we need to start to really get committed with our time and be serious about our classes. Okay. All right. So now that was the second way, is that we're not being serious with our time. So those were just a few little tips on how to get serious with our time. And it's to know, when am I going to host a class? When am I going to teach a class? When is what does that look like? How many does that look like? Like I said, if your spare time is probably once every other week, you're hosting a class, or you're taking people somewhere, or you're meeting with people over coffee to do a one-on-one. If you're part-time, at least one class a week you're teaching. If you're full-time, it's probably more than one. It's probably 2 to 3 classes a week, okay? Depending on where your goal is. When I was really pushing for Diamond, and I made Diamond in the time frame that it has, there was weeks that I was teaching 4 to 5 times a week, and that wasn't when I was doing Diamond Club. That was just the norm because I had a big goal and I wanted to make sure I could achieve it. Now I'm probably out doing one-on-ones and teaching several times a week as well. Okay, so our why, our time commitment, okay, which our why is actually going to feed into us being okay making the time. And then the third thing is knowing what activities to actually do and understanding the simple process, okay? So today, I'm just going to really briefly touch upon this so that you can understand what the 3 different activities are to fill the gap. And then next week, we're really going to dive in to these daily activities. So then now you know what to do during your time. Okay, so the 3-door method, we use the Edge Success system. You can find more videos and more tutorials at edgesuccess.com. But we have this basic, simple philosophy. Our entire philosophy is based on this model right here. So if you understand this, you're going to be able to help with the flow a lot better. And our other thing is keep things simple. Most of us, we're overcomplicating how we do things. We got to keep it simple. So we keep it simple by this 3-door method. And the 3-door method is simply that we've got 3 doors. Okay. There's 3 doors. I want you to pretend there's 3 doors in a row at your house. Okay. And you're looking at these 3 doors and they're labeled 1, 2, 3. And there's 3 doors, and we need to we're standing on one side of the door with a prize. Okay. And our job is to invite people to walk through the door so they can receive the prize. Pretty simple, right? So our door number 1, behind door number 1, right, is the essential oil class. So door number 1 is, are they open to learn about essential oils? Do they want to learn? Do they want to learn and explore natural health care options? And so we're going to start to invite people, right? And we're going to work and we're going to hone in on this skill in a big way next week because it's the foundational skill. If we can't do this, we're not going to go any further. So we're going to hone in on this next week. But how can we invite people? We're working on inviting people to come and learn about essential oils. Okay, that's door number 1. With that invitation, are you open to learn? Once they get through the door, we're going to teach them a class. Okay, if you're just getting started, you're brand new, your upline is going to step in and help you with those classes. And like I said, it could be an intro class, it could be a beyond the basics, whatever that looks like. Maybe they're coming in helping you. If they're not in your location, just have them do it online. If your upline is not actively building the business, just keep going up until you find somebody. Okay. So open to learn. Now, the second one is the second door that you're trying to pull people through for their prize, right? They got the prize of learning about essential oils and coming and getting this fabulous education. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to invite them to actually use the oil. So they've experienced, probably you've given them some samples. They understand what essential oils are. Now it's our job to get them to understand how to use these oils in your home. Okay. And so we're going to invite them to actually become wellness advocates in doTERRA. Okay. And when they get through that, their prize is gigantic because they've got liquid gold in their hand now and in their home. And then our other prizes that we're going to teach them how to actually use those oils in their home. And we're going to do that through what we call our membership overview. Okay. Once we're sitting down with them, we're starting to continue to teach them about essential oils. They're loving their essential oils. They've created a healthy lifestyle for themselves. Then we're going to invite them to walk through the third door. And the third door is if they are open to share. Do they want to learn how to host a class, get their products paid for? Maybe they want to change their life. And so that third door is that, are they open to share? Okay, and that's going to go to a business overview. You guys don't have to worry about a business overview for quite some time. I did there's part 1 is basically the business overview. And until you're at least the rank of silver, you're not going to worry about it at all. Okay, you can send them that video. You can call in an upline to help with the business overview or a business opportunity night, but you don't have to worry about that. But you do have to know how to invite them through that door to get that prize. Okay, now these 3 sets of doors, they can be looked at as a series that we walk them through number 1, 2, and 3, or they can be looked at as a whole because some people might be ready to explore the business opportunity right away. So you can look at them as a whole but when I look at them as a whole, once they see the opportunity, even if they want to lead with number 3, then I walk them back and I teach them about essential oils and how to use. Okay. So the basic premise is that we start with an essential oil class. That class leads to enrollments. Enrollments lead to a membership overview. A membership overview leads to LRPs and a business overview. And a business overview leads to people coming to this space that we are today. So this is the basic concepts and understanding this. So the third way in which to fill the gap is to understand this very, very simple concept, and then to understand which activities we need to do within this. Okay. And that's where we're going to actually look at the 6-3-1 schedule. And these are the daily things that we need to be doing to grow our business, weekly things that we need to be doing to grow our business, and a monthly event. Okay. So this is where we're going to leave off in our part 2 today, because now we know how to fill the gap. Next week in part 3, we're going to explore more on what these activities really truly are. And then we're going to dive into that first door in a big way, because that's truly what's going to quick start you in your business, is understanding and mastering the art of walking people through door number 1 to get them to an essential oil class. Okay. So if you are just joining us in this series, I invite you to go back and watch part 1. Again, that's on our Powerfully Essential YouTube channel. This part 2, you're either watching it live or it will be on our YouTube channel as well, part 2. And then next week, we're going to go into part 3, where we're really starting to dive into the 6-3-1 schedule to know what those daily activities are and starting to master the skills that we need to get from where we are to where we want to be. I really enjoyed spending time with you all today. It's been a great pleasure to share some of my knowledge with you. You guys are all beautiful oil business rock stars. The world is at your fingertips right now with the opportunities you have in doTERRA. Celebrate you. Celebrate where you're at, and know that you're going to get to where you want to be by putting in the activities and the work. So what my assignment is for you right now is to continue to work on your be, do, have list. Really hone in on what your why is. Why are you even doing this? Why are you going to leave your family on a cold winter night to go and teach people about essential oils? Why are you going to do that? Why are you looking at that? And then time block out so that next week when we dive in to the activities, you are ready to go in a really big way. Everyone, have a great week. Go out, be beautiful, celebrate you, and let's get serious on your why so that we can launch ourselves into the next year in a way that you have never launched yourself before. It's been a pleasure spending time with you. I will see you in part 3.